Welcome to Skills for Life, a podcast about high-demand jobs that are shaping future opportunities. This show is brought to you by the North Shore Schools Foundation. I'm Kira Dorian, your host and a North Shore mom. Let's get started. Today on the show, I get to speak with Chris Soriano. He leads technology procurement for Epic Games. Now, you probably know Epic Games from the video game Fortnite, and I think all of our listeners' ears just perked up. But if that isn't enough, not only is Chris a part of Fortnite, he also works in association with Star Wars, and we're going to talk about the link between those two today. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and I'm really excited to share with your audience all the careers and opportunities that might be in video games and movies.
I am so excited because I think you said right before we hit record, you love movies and video games and you get to work on both of those. I think this is like a dream job for so many of our students. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So as many of you might have played any of our games, so we're most known for Fortnite, and we also have the Unreal Engine, which is the engine behind many games and now movies out there. So as you can imagine, there's lots of technology that goes into creating all these games. And what me and my team is responsible for is the acquisition and purchasing of all the technology we use to run the games. Also, all the servers that operate Fortnite and all of our other games. So all the technology spend that goes through Epic Games goes through me and my very talented team.
Wow, that's so cool. I'm excited to finally be talking to someone in a field that I actually know something about. It's really great for me because I'm on the other side, right? I do a lot of voices for video games. So it's exciting to talk to someone who's on the technology side and makes all of that come to life. So tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are today. What was your career path like?
Sure. So I studied economics and management information systems when I was at Washington State University. And I've always had this interest in technology, but I found that maybe I didn't want to be the guy writing code or building servers or anything like that. So I had a interest in business, and I found that through a lot of luck, I was able to get a job where I was purchasing technology. So my career started actually in the banking industry. And I was able to get to work for a few technology companies, a few tech startups in my career. And that just kind of gave me a really solid background in how to combine both the business aspect that I liked in my career and technology. So I started buying the technology that helped run these companies and getting to now apply the skill set to video games and media and entertainment has just been an absolute dream come true for me. And that happened about almost 2 years ago.
Wow, that is so cool. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the various jobs that are available in this field. You know, we've got so many students that love playing video games and that maybe had never crossed their minds I could actually have this be my job, something associated with video games. So what kind of opportunities are out there?
Sure. So before I get into exactly what I do for Epic Games, keep in mind there are lots of jobs within the video game industry that don't particularly apply to creating video games. So a lot of people, when they say I want to be in the video game industry, they talk about, how do I create a video game? Do I need a code? Do I need to develop a video game myself? I mean, sure, of course, those jobs exist and those are fantastic jobs in the industry. But we also have marketing functions, we have HR functions, we have IT functions. So any regular job that you can find at most companies out there in corporate America also exist within the video game industry. Now, for me specifically, getting to buy the technology that operates all of our video games, we have people that do negotiations for contracts. We have people that just do general business analysis. So how do we actually utilize the tools that we buy that operate these video games? And also, how do we, from a technology standpoint, how do we support the people that create the video games? So there's two sides of the fence that I support is how do we operate the video games, and then how do we support the people that create the video games? And then also there's just general business support that we provide. So there's a finance department. How do we provide the technology for them to be able to do their jobs? So I would say if you wanted to work in the video game industry, there's lots of different things you could do, everything from creating the video games to just supporting the company in general.
So tell me a little bit about what you do then, specifically.
So what I do is I manage a team of 7 people who works with the different areas of the business to figure out what their technology needs are. So one aspect of the business, as I mentioned, is what technology do we need to operate Fortnite, for example? So for those of you that know Fortnite, when you go into the lobby and you're waiting for your island to start, there's a lot of technology behind the scenes that are getting, another 100 people into your battle with you. There's the creative mode where people can create their own island. So there's technology that runs all that. So we work with the people who run those things to make sure that whatever technology they need to make that happen for Epic Games, we purchase. Now, the other thing we do too is there's a lot of creative people that work for Epic Games. So there's artists, there's sound engineers, there's people who make sure that the game can operate properly. So we also make sure we work with those teams to make sure that whatever tools they need to design the game is something that they could get through my department as well. And then just people within the business. So we have accountants, we have finance people, we have attorneys. They all have a different set of tools to run their jobs. And it is also my department that helps make sure that they can get all the tools they need to do their jobs properly.
Wow, that's really cool. So I know that there's a link between what Epic Games does and Star Wars. I think we have to talk about this.
Oh, absolutely. I told you, so I'm a big Star Wars fan myself. And when I heard that we had a big partnership with Star Wars and Marvel, I was just so excited. So for those of you that may have seen Mandalorian, if you Googled Epic Games and Mandalorian, there's lots of videos, YouTube videos out there that show how Epic Games technology, specifically Unreal Engine, was used to film Mandalorian. And if you think of movies in the past, or even if you think of how Avengers made, you're familiar with those green screens that the actors do their scenes in, and then they put the background behind them using the green screens. So what Unreal Engine does is it allows a video game engine to now create the background for actors. So if you can imagine that you're an actor and you're pointing at a mountain out in the distance, and historically you would have a green screen and you would have to guess where that mountain is. Well, now we put LED screens behind the actors so they can actually physically see where that mountain is. And with the beauty of Unreal Engine is if they don't like where that mountain is, you just move it. Just with a few clicks of a button, and you're able to kind of change your scenery as you want. Or even being able to create scenes at dusk. So for example, if you wanted to shoot a scene at dusk, you used to be able to have to shoot at dusk. But now we can create with a video game engine, specifically Unreal Engine, we can make dusk last however long you want. Or you can go from a beach scene to a mountain scene to summer to winter in all the same day, which really increases and helps producers with production.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, talk about game changing for the film industry. As an actor, I know that experience of like, okay, we have like 2 takes to get this because the sun's setting, and and so it's incredible how that must just be changing the face of production in general.
Yeah, and the technology is just amazing. So we just released Unreal Engine 5 just a few weeks ago, and like I said, I'm just a procurement guy who buys the technology, but there's a lot of content out there from Epic Games and on YouTube, just people who've been reviewing Unreal Engine 5 and what it will do for not just the video game industry, but the movie industry is just absolutely mind-blowing. And it's a fantastically exciting industry to be in.
Wow, that is really cool. So if students are interested, if they're thinking, wow, that sounds amazing, I want to do what Chris does, or I want to be in the industry, are there things they should be focusing on right now besides playing the video games? I'm sure we're going to tell them that's pretty important, right?
Of course. We want you to keep playing video games.
I'm sure the parents are loving that.
Yeah.
But, other than playing the games and having a good understanding of them, what kind of classes should they be taking? Do they need a degree? If so, what would you recommend? Who should they be following? Who are the influencers? Let's give our students some takeaways if they're interested.
Sure. So I would say, first and foremost, be interested in technology. And I know there are a lot of parents out there that are saying, well, I wish my kid would play less video games. But for me, video games was what got me interested in technology and how this worked. And there's a lot of people out there who credit video games as their introduction to becoming a developer or becoming interested in computer science. So I think that there's a positive in video games. Now, of course, there's it's a double-edged sword. If you should probably get out there and do things other than video games and have other interests as well. But I would say that for my job in particular, having a solid math background and technology background, I like to say that I once in my life had coded before. Now I definitely don't code now, but I know what it's like to create code. I know what it's like on how databases are structured and how data moves between systems. So I would say that if you had a genuine interest in technology and then you're able to take that interest and then apply it to video games. Now, keep in mind, I'm 20 years into my career and I didn't get to break into video games and movies until much later in my career. But I feel like everything I did prior to getting to Epic Games helped me get this job in video games.
That's very well said. I appreciate the long range view of a career path. That's so important for people to hear. What about, who should they be following on social media? Obviously, Epic Games. Any other suggestions in terms of keeping up on the trends and what's happening in this industry?
Following different people on Twitter or their social media. So Tim Sweeney, who's the CEO of Epic Games, has some really great insight into the industry. So IGN is also a great website that has a lot of industry news out there. And there are a lot of conferences out there in the video game industry that people can attend. And a lot of these conferences also put their content online. But I would say IGN, The Verge is another website that has a lot of great industry news on the video game industry as a whole.
Awesome. That's so helpful. Okay, so I'm also curious to ask you how you think this industry is going to transform in the next 5 to 10 years and how you see some of that starting now already. As our students are kind of coming into the workplace and coming into this industry, what do you see happening now that's leading us down maybe a new or different path?
I wish I could answer that question, but it's such a big unknown, but that's what's exciting to me about this. So something that I'm sure you've heard a little bit about now is the metaverse. And I would say a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis is to help support the building of the metaverse. And what does that mean exactly? I don't know. But there is going to be a marketplace for the metaverse out there that we're hoping to be able to be part of. And as we continue to build what will be the metaverse, and there's lots of companies working on this. I mean, Facebook changed their company name to Meta. That it's a kind of unknown, but it's exciting to me. And it's going to be, I think, a big way of how people interact with each other in the future, either, in an online and digital world. So that's what I get to work on. I wish I had a better answer than, where do I think this industry is going? I don't know, but I'm along for the ride. And it's been an exciting ride so far.
I love that. So final question, what do you love about your job?
I mean, I don't even know where to start. How much longer do we have on this podcast? I'm the luckiest person you've interviewed on this. I love my job. When people say they wake up every day and they're excited to do what they do, I'll admit there's a time in my career I'm like, well, are those people crazy or lying? But I wake up every day and I'm excited at the technology I get to work with. I love the people I work with. They're super creative people and they're the kindest people that I've ever worked with in my career. And they're all just super intelligent, which is, it's just fantastic. But I love that what I do on a day-to-day basis helps provide entertainment in many different ways to millions and millions of people across the globe. And, there's a lot of personal satisfaction I get out of that. And I have started playing Fortnite quite a bit since I started working for Epic Games. And now I actually find that I interact with my family on Fortnite. So we all have our headsets and we just kind of get to chit chat in ways that we didn't otherwise before. So it's just, I'm beyond lucky that I get to work in this industry. And it's just been absolutely fantastic.
I love that. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And to our listeners, what a cool and exciting industry that you're in. What a fun conversation that we got to have. I really appreciate your time and your expertise.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast doing this, and hopefully your listeners got to hear a little bit about the video game industry, and hopefully something came up that will get you interested in pursuing a job in my field.
We hope you'll join us again, and remember to hit subscribe to be notified about upcoming episodes. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, Build Skills for Life. That's Build Skills, the number 4, and then the word life. Are you interested in advertising as a sponsor for this podcast? Contact us at podcast@nsdfoundation.org. To learn more about the North Shore Schools Foundation, visit us at northshoreschoolsfoundation.org. Thanks for listening.